Oh me, oh my, would you look at the time, it's Great Games O'Clock! And you know what that means? Why, it means that it's time for us to tell you all about the absolute best games from another 12-month period in history, and this time we're turning our attention to the year 1994. Whoa, what a year it was! 1994 was the year that Friends debuted on our TV screens. Forrest Gump had folks the world over screaming "Run, Forrest, run" at any passing jogger they saw, and it was the year that saw the launch of Amazon, a site that went on to forever change the way we buy, well, anything, really. Of course, you don't care about any of that. You want to know what fantastic video games were floating about in 1994, so let's get to looking at some, shall we? Let's look at some. Before we begin, though, we must first establish the rules. A game can qualify for one of these best-of lists if it was released in at least one territory in the specified year and received a minimum of 7 professional reviews. We don't include ports, re-releases, or collections, as you'll find those games in the list pertaining to their original release year. I'm Ben from TripleJump, and here are the 10 best games of 1994. Number 10. System Shock, 88.33%. We're kicking off today's list with an absolutely cracking title, so you just know that 1994 was a good year for gaming. System Shock is a game of the first-person action-adventure variety and takes place aboard a space station in the year 2072. The protagonist, a nameless hacker, is brought to the station after attempting to access the systems of the corporation that owns it. Once there, one of the executives offers to drop all charges and give the hacker a sweet neural implant if he'll break into Shodan, the station's AI, and steal a biological weapon. This goes about as well as you'd imagine, and although the protagonist gets their neural implant, they are then forced to deal with the consequences of removing Shodan's ethical constraints. System Shock earned masses of praise from critics who were particularly impressed by the level of immersion that the developers had been able to achieve. They also called out the graphics, physics system, and 3D environments as highlights and praised Shodan for being one of the most effective antagonists in all of gaming. The good news is that System Shock is still playable to this day thanks to the enhanced edition, or if you'd rather get stuck into a modernized version, the remake is due to release in early 2023. Number 9. NBA Jam, 88.5%. Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've covered a basketball game on one of these best-of lists before, or at least I think I have. After a while, all the years start to go a bit fuzzy, though I suppose that's what happens when you're over 30. Anyway, something, I'm gonna give this everything I've got. I'm so tired. NBA Jam was originally released in arcades in 1993 and found its way into players' homes in 1994. However, rather than giving players a digital approximation of real basketball, the game featured an exaggerated version of the sport. The players themselves could jump to superhuman heights and make baskets that defied the laws of physics. There were no fouls, and if the player scored 3 times in a row, they'd gain unlimited turbo. NBA Jam was wildly popular with players and quickly became a bestseller in the United States upon its release. Critics were also mightily impressed with the title, lauding its graphics, sound, multiplayer, the fact that it was easy to pick up and play, and that it was even fun for those who weren't really into sports. You could say that game was something of a slam. Number 8. Mega Man X, 88.5%. By 1994, there were already around a dozen games bearing the good name of Mega Man, and so it's unsurprising that developer and publisher Capcom decided it was time to shake things up a bit with a spin-off series. Thus, Mega Man X was born. The game got its first release in Japan in December of 1993, but it didn't make its way to the rest of the world until a few months later. Unlike its predecessors, which focused on the world's most famous little blue robot, Mega Man X follows the titular X, an android and member of the military force called the Maverick Hunters, who, along with his sidekick Zero, must thwart the plans of Sigma, a Maverick leader wishing to bring about human extinction. Mega Man X was something of a revival for the Mega Man franchise, which some felt had become somewhat stale. Critics praised Mega Man X for its visuals, classic gameplay, audio, and the veritable smorgasbord of hidden items and power-ups. Some did criticize its low difficulty and short runtime, but when the game got so many other things right, it was impossible to hate on it for these minor infractions. Number 7. Shining Force 2, 88.55%. We're heading into sequel town now as we turn our attention to Shining Force 2, a tactical role-playing game developed by Sonic Software Planning, a company that, somewhat ironically, has mostly developed Mario titles. Although Shining Force 2 was originally released in Japan in 1993, it didn't make it to North America or Europe until the following year. The game was a follow-up to 1992's Shining Force, though its story wasn't directly linked to it, meaning that players could pick up the second title in the series without having played the first and not have to worry that they'd be missing out on important context. list. Shining Force 2 saw players taking control of Shining Force leader Bowie, not that one, and they were free to explore the world at their leisure, speaking to NPCs, looking for treasure, and engaging in turn-based battles. The game was very well received by critics, with reviews calling out the cheerful and upbeat soundtrack, user-friendly controls, and vast world as particular high points. More recently, Shining Force 2 has been ranked amongst the greatest video games of all time by the likes of IGN, and so considering that you could pick up a copy of the PC version for less than £1 English, it's definitely worth seeking out, even today. Number 6. Donkey Kong Country, 88.94%. Not to spoil things too much, but I feel like I should inform you guys that there's no Mario on this list, which is something of a rarity for one of these best of videos. Anyone who showed up hoping to catch a glimpse of the little mustachioed Italian plumber will, instead, have to make do with the franchise that kick-started his career. Developed by Rare for the SNES, Donkey Kong Country stars the eponymous gorilla and his nephew Diddy Kong, and follows the duo as they set out on an adventure to recover their banana hoard from Crocodile King K. Rool and his army of Kremlings. The game was set across a whopping 40 levels and tasked players with platforming, riding minecarts and various different animals, collecting items, defeating enemies, and uncovering secret bonus stages. There really was a ton of stuff for players to do. Critics were blown away by Donkey Kong Country, with many asserting that it had changed the landscape of video gaming forever. The visuals received the bulk of the praise, as both critics and players were astounded by what Rare had been able to achieve. The game didn't just look nice though, it was also funny, imaginative, and filled to the brim with engaging puzzles and secrets to uncover. There's little wonder it went on to sell millions of copies and earn a bunch, no pun intended, of Game of the Year awards. Bananas, I was joking about bananas because... Number 5. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, 89%. Oh, Sonic, seeing you on lists like these just makes us sad because it reminds us of how long it's been since you were truly great. Oh well, at least we still have the nostalgia just as long as no one brings up Sonic 06. For his 4th outing, thank you Sonic CD for ruining the numbering there, our blue spiky friend is once again on a quest to retrieve the Chaos Emeralds and put a stop to the evil Dr. Robotnik's nefarious schemes. This time, the dastardly Doc is attempting to relaunch his space station, the Death Egg, after it crash lands on the floating Angel Island. Like those that came before it, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 enjoyed critical acclaim and wound up becoming one of the best-selling games for the Sega Genesis. Many agreed that the 3rd numbered Sonic title was the best game in the series so far, and although it didn't exactly push the envelope, it was a fun, engaging experience from start to finish, packing in plenty of exciting stages, secret areas, and new power-ups. Put simply, if you liked Sonic the Hedgehogs 1 and 2, you are going to have a smashing old time with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Number 4. Lunar Eternal Blue, 90.64%. Now, full transparency here, our writer had never heard of the Luna series prior to cobbling together this script, but in her defense, she was only 3 at the time that Lunar Eternal Blue was released. Still, we will be moving her to a smaller cage as punishment and increasing the beatings to ensure that she does better in future. You've brought this upon yourself! The second installment in the Luna series, Lunar Eternal Blue, was first released in Japan in December 1994 and wouldn't make its way to North America for another 9 months. Eternal Blue is set a whole millennium after the events of Luna the Silver Star and tells the story of the imaginatively named Hero, an adventurer who meets Lucia, a visitor from the distant Blue Star. Together they must do everything in their power to stop the evil, all-powerful being Zofar from destroying the world. Some wrote Lunar Eternal Blue off as just another RPG, but they were foolish to do so, as the game's story, characters, and stunning cinematics more than made it worth the price of admission, which was actually pretty high, setting Japanese consumers back 9,900 yen, which was the equivalent of $100 US. Lunar Eternal Blue, more like Lunar Eternal credit card repayments, got 'em. Number 3. XCOM UFO Defense, 93.6%. Would usually be incredibly upset at an attack on the English language, such as the one on display in the title of Mythos Games' 1994 sci-fi strategy game XCOM UFO Defense. But since the game was so good, we're willing to give it a pass. Just this one time though, XCOM UFO Defense with an S. This space-themed title put players in command of XCOM, an international paramilitary organization charged with defending Earth from hostile aliens, and throughout the game they must issue orders to troops in a series of turn-based tactical missions. seconds. Additionally, players were tasked with managing the research and development of new technologies, building bases, looking after the finances, and keeping an eye out for any pesky UFOs with nefarious intentions. XCOM UFO Defense was received incredibly well by critics, who applauded its varied combat system and addictive, sophisticated gameplay, and compared it favorably to the likes of Civilization and Populous, which is high praise indeed. The game went on to spawn an entire series of sci-fi titles and was remade in 2012, though most fans of the series agree that of all the titles bearing the XCOM name, the original is still the best. Number 2. Doom 2, 95%. In December 1993, developer and publisher id Software released a game that is often cited as one of the greatest and most significant of all time. By 1995, Doom was alleged to be installed on more computers than Microsoft's latest operating system, and it not only pioneered a whole bunch of technologies, but it also helped to define the FPS genre and inspired numerous similar games, including its own sequel, Doom 2, or Doom 2 Hell on Earth if you want to get subtitle about this. Indeed, just 10 months after the release of the OG Doom, fans of shooting the heck out of demons were treated to another opportunity to step into Doom Guy's shoes, grab some big flipping guns, and get to blasting. Only this time, the demons were invading Earth rather than Mars. Critics were blown away by Doom 2 and praised the developers for retaining everything that made the first game great whilst also refining it. Gameplay-wise, Doom 2 didn't bring much new to the table, but basically if you'd enjoyed the OG shooter and were just in the market for a bit of mindless action and carnage, then there was really no better game to stick on your Christmas list that year. Number 1. Super Metroid, 96.55%. Grab your spacesuits and your weird freeze-dried food, because it's time to take to the stars as we catch up with our good pal Samus Aran and those pesky Metroids. For her third outing, Samus Aran once again finds herself facing off against the Space Pirates. Following the events of Metroid 2 Return of Samus, the First Lady of Gaming delivers the last Metroid to scientists in the Ceres space colony, who analyze it and find that its energy-producing abilities could be harnessed. Before they get the chance though, they're all slaughtered by Ridley, leader of the Space Pirates, who steals the Metroid. Not cool, dude, come on. Considering its near perfect average review score, it would seem that Super Metroid could do no wrong. Critics praised its graphics, sound, and gameplay and described the overall experience as intensely playable. Sadly, Super Metroid was the last Metroid title that players would get to experience before the turn of the millennium. It's a good job that Metroid Prime ended up being so good, otherwise that 8-year wait would have been unforgivable. Anyway, congratulations Super Metroid on being the best game of 1994. May your excellence be an inspiration to us all.